This Steve Jones Show podcast is now loading. The Steve Jones Show podcast is presented by Sunbury Motor Company, Purdy Insurance, and Brewers Outlet. Bringing you an in-depth look at Penn State sports and more. This is the Steve Jones Show on News Radio 1070 WKOK. The Steve Jones Show is presented by Sunbury Motor Company, Purdy Insurance, and Brewers Outlet. Now from the Sunbury Motor Studio, here's Steve Jones.
And this half hour brought to you by Purdy Insurance, Market Street in Sunbury. Go to purdyinsurance.com. Auto, home, life, business, boat, motorcycle, RV, Medicare products. We have a multitude of insurance needs, and because of that, you need pros to make sure it is done right. They'll do everything they can to save you money because customer service means everything to them. All at Brewers Outlet, Reagan, all at Purdy Insurance, Market Street in Sunbury. Go to purdyinsurance.com. By the way, Rob Manfred up in Williamsport last night says that if they do expand, he's hinting at realignment of 8-14 divisions. Very interesting. Ryan Jones joins us from the Penn State Alumni Association. Always a pleasure. Great to hear you, my friend.
Steve, how are you doing? Great to be here.
Great. Doing really well. A lot going on this year and a lot of events you're going to have. And starting out with the pregame event that's going to be taking place at the Alumni Center because that's brand new.
Yeah, for the Oregon game. So, we've traditionally done what we call our Roar Tour events on the road. We'll go and we travel to pretty much every road game historically, and we set up on the Friday night there. We partner with the local chapter in whatever city that might be. And then Saturday, we always do a pregame pep rally on the road. Because we're mindful of the fact that we might be having multiple postseason games on a year-to-year basis, which is obviously exciting, we're kind of rethinking a little bit our approach. And one thing we are going to do, which we haven't in a long time, is have a Friday night home game event specifically for the Oregon game that Friday night before the whiteout. So very, very excited about that one. Excited to get folks back to the Hintz Family Alumni Center on campus. Obviously, it'll be a packed town, packed Happy Valley that weekend. So we'll get them here. We're going to have food and entertainment and prizes, and just a very good way, we think, for folks to get hyped up for the game on Saturday.
And you're also going to have some big game day pep rallies on the road as well. Give us an idea of what people can expect and when.
So, yeah, the two this year are in Columbus on Saturday, November 1st, and then in New Jersey for Rutgers on the 29th. In both cases there, on Saturday, we bring in the pet band, we bring in the Nittany Lion mascot, we bring in the cheerleaders, and it is just a very, very fun way to go. You got to register, but people don't have to pay to attend. It's a free event, and obviously a great way on the road. It's always a little hit and miss, Steve, as you know, on the road, sort of what the setup is there for visiting fans. Depending on where you go, there's lots of good options, or it's a little bit trickier, and tailgating can be tricky if you don't know your way around. So this kind of gives Penn Staters who are traveling for the Ohio State and Rutgers games a chance to come and join us in one place, come together, a ton of Penn State spirit. Again, cheerleaders, Nittany Lion, great place to get photos, and it's just a very, very fun environment before the game on those two Saturdays in November.
Plus, of course, there's the Friday night mixers, Ryan, that's always been a part of what's been going on.
Yeah, so we'll have those as well for Ohio State and Rutgers again in Ohio, in Columbus, and then Piscataway on before those two games. And we've dialed back some of ours again because the challenge of how many road games sort of we can handle in the course of the season with this new format with the playoffs. So we're not doing as many regular season ones as we have in the past. But those Friday night events, we partner with a local chapter. So in this case, in Ohio and New Jersey, they're partnering with our local alumni. We help them set up a great Friday night event, usually at a local establishment. You can go onto our website, alumni.psu.edu, find out all the information for those under the events tabs. If you're not already a member, hopefully you're getting those. If you're an Alumni Association member, you'll get those via email and things. But alumni.psu.edu will have all the details. But the Friday night before Ohio State and Rutgers, we'll have those kind of mixers, and then again the Saturday morning pep rallies before both of those games.
Yeah, what about the other road games and the presence you want to have at UCLA, at Iowa, Michigan State? Any kind of presence the Alumni Association will have there?
Absolutely. It'll for most folks, if you just show up in one of those, if you're out in LA, if you're in Iowa City, if you're in East Lansing and you go on a Friday night, again, you can find that information on the Alumni Association website. You're going to be able to connect with an event that's really stood up by our local chapters out there. And again, that's something we're able to kind of support from afar for the most part. We'll have a little bit of staff at those games, but really it'll be about the local chapters kind of hosting an event, again, at a local establishment, depending on where you are there. That'll give folks an opportunity on Friday night to kind of come together. Again, for visiting fans, if you've made a road trip, you know this, Steve, depending on where you go, it's easy to find things to do and places to connect with Penn Staters. Sometimes it's not. So this will kind of give Penn Staters on those Friday nights a great opportunity to connect and have a place to kind of get in the pregame mood on Friday night with fellow Penn Staters.
The S Zone and the Shakers are always cool, and you guys are directly involved with that.
Yeah, that's something we've been really, really proud at the Alumni Association to support for a long time. The S Zone, at the end of the end zone there, the student section, as most people know, you see the block S. It occasionally will change colors for homecoming and things like that, but for the most part, the thaw-in game, of course, as well, the gold ribbon there. But that's always just such a neat kind of way to get the students kind of organized in that section and show our support, obviously, for athletics. We have a great relationship at the Alumni Association with the athletic department here. We've always been huge supporters and proud supporters of athletics and football in particular, of course. And then the Shakers, the student Shakers, which for a big game, for any game are pretty visible, but of course for a big game, a whiteout game in particular, that whole student section will be kind of rocking with the Shakers in unison there. And we're really, really proud to be able to support and sponsor both the S Zone and the Shakers there. I think the environment at Beaver Stadium, we all know is second to none. And to even have a small role in that at the Alumni Association is something we take a lot of pride in.
All the places I go and talk to around the country, and I don't just do stuff in Pennsylvania. I've gone to Florida, South Carolina. I've gone all over the place, Massachusetts. We'll talk about their watch parties.
Yeah.
You have there are, I think, 100 chapters that do this, right, Ryan?
More than 100 that have watch parties, and it's one of the cool things about it, Steve. Again, you've been on the road, I've had a chance to connect with a lot of those folks on the road, our members over the years as well. And you might have a chapter that's relatively small in a rural area, kind of smaller town, Pennsylvania somewhere, or you can go to New York or D.C., Pittsburgh, Philly, Harrisburg, L.A., Chicago, you name it, right? Big city or small, near or far. We've got folks who come together to watch the games on Saturdays. And, I had a good friend of mine used to live in Hawaii many, many years ago, a fellow alum. I was out visiting him, and I think we got up, I think it was a noon game, so we were up at, 5 a.m. to get to the bar in Honolulu to watch the game. And there were, probably 25, 30 Penn Staters there. So wherever you are, as many of your listeners, I'm sure, will know, our chapters and groups are second to none, and they come together to watch the games. And so we're able to support that as well. And again, for folks who are interested in connecting with chapters and groups, you can find a lot of them on Facebook, but you can also, again, go to our website, alumni.psu.edu, and you can look through the chapter listings and find the different groups and stuff where you can link up, no matter where you are, to find a group to watch a game with.
And one of the great traditions, whether it was Ridge Riley or John Black or now John Pasternak, who does such a great job, the football letter, and now the addition of over the years of the podcast. What has that meant to alumni? What did they tell you about both, whether it's print, online, or a podcast, that makes a difference to them in connecting?
Steve, you know better than most probably the history there, right? Again, John Black, a good friend of both of ours, and I'll say somewhat of a mentor to me as long as I've been at the Alumni Association, just kind of a living embodiment of Penn State spirit and history and pride. But what John continued for almost half a century, that Ridge Riley had started going back, getting close to 100 years ago now, and my colleague John Pasternak has carried on. The football letter, it's unique. There's really no one else who does that. The idea that started, again, almost a century ago, Ridge Riley would type up a letter to tell to alumni near and far, hey, here's what happened in the game on Saturday. And he was a wonderful writer and storyteller, really could convey it. Again, John Black carried that on for almost half a century. And so that print edition, we don't do it really much in print at all anymore. It's primarily, obviously, an email delivery for that. But it means a ton to some of our alumni, and its meaning has evolved, right? Back then, if you lived outside, if you weren't close to State College, going back 60, 70, 80, 90 years ago, you may not have had any way to find out what happened to the game for at least many, many days. So this letter was how you found out what happened to the game, not only who won or lost, but how it went and the highlights and how your favorite players might have done. Of course, now it's evolved where it's really more about kind of that unique Penn State perspective there that's geared toward our alumni, kind of the most loyal Penn Staters on that perspective and connecting you to traditions and the history while saying, hey, here's what's going on at the game. Obviously, at this point, most folks will have watched the game live on TV if they weren't there in person, but it still kind of gives you a neat perspective there. The podcast, which we've added in the recent years, I think it's been a really great addition because it's a great chance for us to connect with former Lettermen. We're mindful. We're the Alumni Association, so we want to bring you that alumni perspective in a way that really no one else can. And then also give people a chance to hear from other folks, connected to the program or just folks connected to the Alumni Association's chapter leaders, the folks we talked about who host those watch parties. They talk about their experiences. We've had some kind of special ones over the years. We've talked about, the anniversary of the 94 team, Rose Bowl teams, things like that. So if you're a Penn State alum in particular and you have an affinity for the Indiana football team, as so many of our alumni do, it's really kind of a great way to stay connected to the program, to the tradition and history, and also what's going on now. And we take a lot of pride in and are really glad we're able to continue it at this point.
John Potashnik is one of those guys. I always talk about Penn State's always been fortunate to have the right person at the right time. And I feel in this area, John was the right person for the right time.
Yeah, John's great. He's a Penn Stater through and through. There are not many guys, not many people I know who care as much about Penn State as John does. He is just dedicated to it, to the university, and certainly to this job as well, to this role. He really loves what he does, really loves the opportunity to cover the team and continue that tradition. Again, John Black, like I said, who's still around for us, but not here at the Alumni Association day-to-day anymore. I think is someone that John Potashnik and I both look up to and have for a long time. So to have a role in continuing that, I think you're exactly right. John was the guy who I think cares more about it and gets it maybe more than anybody else could. So kind of maintaining that history and that tradition is something that I know he takes really, really seriously.
Any final things you want to throw in that in case we missed it?
No, just excited. Steve had a chance to get out to practice on Saturday a little bit, and I know I'm not nearly as plugged in as you are. You've got the insights on this stuff, but it's just always exciting this time of year to you feel the buzz starting to pick up. The students will be back at the end of this week, knowing that the first game of the season is around the corner, and I think a team that's going to be a lot of fun. So really, really excited that the Alumni Association has a chance to be a part of it, connecting our alumni back to football and just kind of being in the mix and celebrating all that we love about it.
Yeah, in fact, you can tell it's the lull before the storm, because when I went out to a restaurant this morning, locals were out. All right, so
you can always tell when it's in the air, right, Steve?
Yes, sir.
Yep.
All right. Hey, Brian, always a pleasure. You and the entire staff there do an incredible job, and we appreciate you very much.
Thank you, Steve. Appreciate the chance to come on. Take care.
Anytime. All right, this half hour brought to you by Purdy Insurance, Market Street in Sunbury. Go to purdyinsurance.com here on News Radio 1070 WKOK.
What's better than 0% financing on a new car? 0% plus additional discounts on a new car from Sunbury Motors Hyundai. Be a hero with zero. There's 0% APR financing for up to 60 months, plus an additional $2,250 SMC discount on 2025 Hyundai Santa Fe SELs. There's also 0% APR financing for up to 60 months, plus an additional $2,500 SMC discount on 2025 Hyundai Palisade Calligraphies. Sunbury Motors Hyundai has 3.99% APR financing for 72 months, plus an additional $1,500 SMC discount on 2025 Hyundai Tucsons. Remember, all new Hyundais come with Hyundai Assurance and are backed by America's best warranty. 10 years, 100,000-mile limited powertrain warranty. What's better than 0% financing? 0 plus SMC discounts. Save thousands now, only at Sunbury Motors Hyundai in the North 4th Street Auto Plaza, Sunbury.